All right. Morning, everybody. How are you? Today is Daf Ayin Hey and Maseches Eruvin. Right on, it's roughly 100 blot, 75. Right, this will make us around 75% done, according to my my math. You learn a little bit in telescopics. Anyway, so we got to the Mishnah on Ayin Hey Amud Aleph, towards the top. I don't know, 8-9 lines down. So the Mishnah says, once again, as I mentioned before, a lot of these concepts we've seen before. We've actually referenced some of these cases. So some of these concepts should not be foreign to us. But some, obviously, the individuals, this is the the original source of some of the machlokes. So the Mishnah says, "Shtei chatzeros zu lifnim mizu." You got two chatzeros, one inside the other. So in other words, what that means is that there's a front one and back one, and then the way to get into the back one, which is called the pnimis, right? We're going to call it the pnimis, the inner one, right? Is by walking through the front one to get to the back one. So obviously, the people in the front, they can just leave and whenever they want into the street. But the people in the back one, they got to walk from there into their chatzer, then from their chatzer into the other chatzer, then from there out into the street. So if the inner one went ahead and made an eruv, but not the outer one, so the inner one is mutter because everybody in their in the chatzer participated in the eruv. However, but the chitzona, the outer one is asur, right? Why is that, right? Because the people in the inner one have drisas regel. They have a right to walk through the outer one. And since they didn't join in the eruv, right? They didn't join in the eruv, so therefore it would asur. And ha-chitzona v'lo pnimis, right? Shtei nasuros. Now let's say the chitzona, the inner one made v'lo pnimis, the outer one made it not the inner one. Right? Shtei nasuros. Right? Both are asur. Right? Actually, I jumped the line. I expanded a little in the next case also. Right? The other case, the chitzona is asur because they never made an eruv. Right? That's simply. Now in this one, if the chitzona made an eruv, but the people on the inside didn't make one, right? Shtei nasuros. Both of them are asur. Why? Because the inner one. Why? So the obviously the inner one, the pnimi, did not make an eruv, and the outer one is asur because the people of the inside have drisas rekel. They have a right to walk through to the outer one, and since they didn't join in any eruv, therefore, even though they don't live in that chutzner, they asur the eruv of the chutzner because they should have joined in the eruv of the outer one, and they did not. Now, eruv zula asma. Each one made their own eruv. Zu materes b'fnei asma. Each one made their own eruv, and each one is mutter to go ahead and carry in its own. And Rabbi Kiva oiser hachitzona. However, Rabbi Kiva says no, you can't go ahead and carry in the outer one. Why is that? Right? Because there's the people of the pimi, right? They have a right to go through the outer one, and since they didn't join in the eruv, in other words, they can carry. They made an eruv only in the inner one, but they never made an eruv in the outer one. So therefore, even though all the people of the outer one made an eruv, the people of the inner one should have joined in the eruv of the outer one because they have a right to go ahead and walk through. And since they walk through all the time and they didn't make the eruv, so therefore, according to Rabbi Akiva, he says it's asur. We're going to see the machlokes in the Gemara. And the drisas regel isart. The Chachamim ain't drisas regel isart. In this case, the Chachamim say the drisas regel does not asar. Now, even though they have a right to walk through, they don't forbid the outer chutzner. All right, we'll soon see why it is because it has to do with the status of whether people who are in another chutzner, the pnimis, those people, the pnimi, if they can carry in their own chutzner, does that asur them from carrying in the outer chutzner, right? So that will make a difference. That will be consequential. Now, next case. So if one of them forgot from the outer one and did not make an eruv, the inner one is mutter because the people in the outer one really have no shaychus to the inner one, have no reason. The outer one is asur because someone forgot and not everyone partook of it. However, if someone from the inner one did not make an eruv, both of them are asur, right? So the inner one is asur because he's part of the inner chutz, and the outer one is asur because of drisas regel. Then Nasnu, in the last case, what I actually say at the end of today's daf, Nasnu eruv b'makom echad. If they join in one eruv and they put their eruv in one place, we'll soon see the Gemara will have to define this, whether it's the inner one or the outer one. The shachach echad beid min ha'pnimis, beid min ha'chitzayna, and then one of them forgot whether he's from the outer chutzner or from the inner chutzner. Shtei nasuros. everybody is, both of them are usher to carry because it was one Eruv all placed together, right? They took the Eruv and they put them all together to join both the Pnimi and the Chitzayna, and therefore they're all usher. However, if there was of Yechidim, i.e., it was only one person lives in the front Chatzir, and one person, or one lives in the, or one lives in the outer Chatzir, and one lives in the inner Chatzir, they don't need an Eruv in such a case because it's only one person per chatzir and and there's two different chatzeros and each have one person. It does not require an Eruv, and we'll also have to see that case. Now, let's see the Gemara. Let's understand this machlokes. So, Kiyosu Rav Dimi Omar Rav Yanai. Rav Dimi came. He said, "B'shem Rav Yanai, Zo Divrei Rabbi Kiva de Omar Afilu Regel Hamoteres B'Kayma." This is the opinion of Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Kiva holds like this, that if somebody, even if it's mutter for them to carry in their own place, right? As right, means in their own place, right? Afilu regel hamoteres b'mekayma. What does it mean, regel hamoteres b'mekayma? We're going to see this line multiple times. It means it's mutter where they live. It's mutter for them to carry, i.e., they made an eruv in their own place. So the people on the panimi, the inner one, made an eruv in the eruv, right? They joined with the people only for the inner chatzir. So since even if they have a place where they can carry, i.e., in the inner one, they would still aser places where they don't live, where they just have a right to walk, right? I start to shleim and kaima, right? They would ask in other cases. So even though, according to Rabbi Kiva, even though the people on the inside are allowed to go ahead and carry, right? Since they didn't join an eruv in the outer one, they can ask for the outer one. So people in mutter in their own place can ask for somebody else. Just like, right, that the people who live in their own place, right, and they don't ask for each other because they made an eruv. So too, right? So just like that, if it was mutter for them, right, to carry on the inside, they wouldn't ask her on the outside. So too, even if it was us for them to carry, they never made eruv on the inner one, they wouldn't ask for the outside. So according to the Chamim, their drisas regel, right, the fact that they have a right of way does not forbid at all the people of the chitzayna. So if they never joined in the eruv of the chitzayna and they didn't have their own, they still wouldn't ask for, even though they have a right to go ahead and walk through. Nevertheless, it doesn't forbid the people from going ahead and carrying out into their houses into the chatzir. So Tanan. So let's look at our Mishnah. Let's see if this stems, that which Rav Dimi quoted in the name of Rav Yanai, would go ahead and stem with our Mishnah. Or do we have to perhaps reinterpret our Mishnah? So Tanan, we're going to Mishnah. Eruv v'chitzon avloi pnim is, if you wanted to have made an Eruv in the outer one, and not the inner one, shtein asuros, right? Then both of them are asur. So Mani, whose opinion is this? Elim and Rabbi Kiva. If it says Rabbi Kiva, so my area regel asura. Why do you have to say in the case of where it was where they didn't go ahead and make an eruv in the inner one? That's when it asurs. According to Rabbi Kiva, the way you just said, I feel the regel muteris nami, right? Even if there was mutter for them to get, even if they made an eruv in the inner one, the outer one would still be asur. El lav rabbanon. It must be the opinion of the rabbanon. So you see here, according to the rabbanon. Therefore, the rabbanon hold that the people, since they can't carry in the inner one, they can't carry in the outer one. And you just said before, people who can, whether they can carry or they don't carry, they would never ask for the outer, the chitzona, and that doesn't make sense here. So the Gemara says, no, Li'olam Rabbi Kiva, and maybe Rabbi Kiva is teaching us a chiddush, right? Not only in the case of where they can't carry in their own place, but even the place where they can carry, even in that place, they would forbid the people in the outer one to go ahead and carry. So the Gemara says, well, let's look weiter. So tonight our Mishnah says, Eruv Zuli Yasma. If each one made their own Eruv, Zumateres from the Yasma. So since they each made their own Eruv, each one go ahead and carry. So Tam of the Eruv, but the reason is because they made Eruv. Halo Eruv. But if they did not make an Eruv, then Shtein Asuros. Then they would both of them be Asur. V'hai Tana, the Oma Regel Muteres Eina Asarta. But doesn't we hold that even a regel is muter Eina Asarta? So Regel Hasura Aseres, right? So he holds that it's not a person who's it's not a person who, if it was mutter for them, he doesn't ask her. No, we're not talking about a case of a person if he was mutter for him to carry in the inner one, but it's only a regel surah oseres, right? Only if somebody is forbidden, right? In other words, they didn't make an eruv in their own place, that's when they ask her. But if they can carry in their own place, they wouldn't ask her, right? A regel materis is eno oseres, and regel hasuras is oseres. So mani pa. So whose opinion is this? Notice who is the one who differentiates, right, as to whether or not they can carry in their own place, whether they aser the other people, right? Rabbi Kiva always says they always aser, and the Rabbanan hold, right, it never asers them. So Rabbi Kiva, Nami. According to Rabbi Kiva, it's not only people if they can't carry in their place, they aser the one that they way of just regal, but even if they can carry in their place, even if it's regal materis, they're also aser. So Elav Rabbanan, he must be the Rabbanan, but you see over here, according to the Rabbanan, it's not all cases materis. If it's aser for them, then it would aser also the just regal would aser. Furthermore, me to say for Rabbi Kiva, Rachel Lav Rabbi Kiva, but the fact that the sefer was Rabbi Kiva is not obvious as Rabbi Kiva. So the answer is no, Kula Rabbi Kiva. You really it's Rabbi Kiva. And really, the Mishnah, this Mishnah is missing a part, which is said like this: if each one made their own eruv, each one is mutter for them to go ahead and carry in their own place. When are we talking about? When they make a small little door in the I guess between the chutzner, between the inner one to the outer one, small door, basically showing that we're not makbid on our trisas regal. In other words, we can go ahead and just we don't basically it's almost like they give up their rights. So since they give up their rights, therefore they're not going to aser. But however, if they did not go ahead and do it, then the outer one is aser. Why? Because that's the pit of Rabbi Kiva, because he holds that even regal hamoteres asers the chitzona if they didn't join in their aver, because since they're also quote unquote a member of the chaser, because they have rights in that chaser to walk through. Because Rabbi Kiva asers the outer one because of juices regal, which is because when it's aser, right, in their own chaser. And Racham hold that no, the Jesus regal never asers. So the last part of the Mishnah says if there was part of individuals, if it was one-on-one, they wouldn't have to make eruv. And mashma that if it was owned by multiple people, they would have to make an eruv, right? Alma, what do you see from there? Regal materes b'kaima eino seres, and regal hasura seres, right? We see this opinion that if it's a regal which is mutter in their place, then they don't aser. But if it's a regal which is aser in their place, then it would aser. And furthermore, Ravina says, right? Another question: right? If a person forgot from the inner one, right, and he didn't make an eruv, so the inner one, the pinimis is actually someone from the outer one forgot, right? And did not do the eruv. So the inner one is mutter because the outer ones have no shaykhs on the inside courtyard. They have no reason to be there. The chitzona is aser. Why? Because one of its members did not go ahead and make an eruv. And shachach echa mi'apnimis v'lo eruv. However, if one of the inner ones forgot, did not make an eruv, so shtei asuros, both of them are aser, right? Both of them are aser. Why? Because the inner one doesn't have, right? Because one of its members forgot. And the outer one has a problem with the trisas regal for the person who forgot. So Tam the Shachach sounds like the only reason is because the person who has the right of way forgot to go ahead and join in his eruv. But if he joined in his own eruv, shtei moteres, that would be mutter. So Alma, what do you see from here? Regal hamoteres eno seres. Since that person would have been mutter to carry in his place, he wouldn't ask for the other people. And regal asura seres, and a person who would person who was asur for him to go ahead and carry in his area because he didn't join the eruv, that's what he asers the other areas because of his right of way. So Gemara says now, really, Ella, we're going to change our whole understanding of our Mishnah. Right? There's actually three shitas in this case. Tanakama saver regal hamoteres eina iseres, regal asura iseres. So he holds if a person, right? This is like whatever we just did, whatever we just learned. Here comes the summary, right? Here comes the summary of how to understand our Mishnah. Now, first opinion of our Mishnah is this. If a person is able to go ahead and carry, right, in the pinimi, right, in the inner one, then since he's regal materis, eino seres. If he didn't join the eruv with the people in the outer one, right, it's fine. Because since he can carry in his place, basically that's his malkum, and therefore he doesn't aser the outer one. All right. However, regal seres, if they never made an eruv on the inner one, then even though everybody else in the outer one made an eruv, his right of way would aser them to do it because he never joined in any eruv. Rabbi Kiva Imer, Savar, Afilu regal materes aseres. Every type of person, the people on the inside who have the right of way, always have to go ahead and join in the chitzona, whether or not they made their own eruv, whether or not they have a makom where they can go ahead and carry. That is Rabbi Kiva, because so he's at one extreme, and the Rabbanan, Basraisa, and they run at the end, said they hold the other extreme. Kashem shemoteres eina oseres kach regla asura eina oseres. Just like when a person has their own makom, right? They have their own makom, and therefore their drisas regel does not. If they didn't join with the outer ones, it doesn't ruin their eruv. So too, even if they have no place to go ahead and carry because they didn't make an eruv, they still don't aser. So they hold that the drisas regel never asers the outer one. So the summary, Rabbanan holds that the Drusa Regal, someone has a right of way, never forbids the members of that chutzner to carry it as long as all the members, the people who live there, made an eruv. Rabbi Akiva holds they always aser it. If they have a right of way, then they ruin it. And then there's the middle opinion, which is the Tanakama that hold if they have their own place to go ahead and carry, then they will go ahead and they won't aser it, but they have no other place to carry. Then it shows really they're really part of the area where they have the right of passage, and therefore, since they didn't join the eruv, they would ask those people from carrying from their houses into the chutzner. Fine. Next case, 2 dots at the bottom, 3 lines from the bottom. Nasno eruvim b'makom echad. If they all place their eruv in one place, they forgot, one of them forgot. So then we said, then both of them are also. So my makom echad. What's makom echad? All right. So Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav Chitzayna. Right. So maybe we're talking about the outer one. So my karli makom echad. No, they all made an eruv. They made a single eruv. They joined the inner people and the outer people made one eruv. So therefore, we'll be able to carry back and forth between the chatzeros. And what does it mean, the chitzayna? What does it mean, the outer one? So my karli makom echad. Makom hamiyuchad l'shteiam. It means it's a place that's miyuchad, that's for both of them, because both of them have the right in the chitzayna. Right? The people that live in the chitzayna, because that's their courtyard, that's their chatzer, and the people in the inner one because they have a right to walk through the chatzer to get to their homes. Fine. Tanya Mihachi, similar in a brisa, top of Ein Hey Amud Beis, it says Nasnei Ru Mechitzayna v'Shachach Bein Penimis. If they made an eruv on the outer one, it says here explicitly they put the eruv all together. They all join in one eruv to make all the chatzeros attached and their houses into the chatzer and the chatzer into the other chatzer. And one of them forgot whether that person was a member of the outer one or the inner one of the low eruv. Shtein asuros, brother aser. Nasnei Ru Penimis. If they went ahead and put the eruv in the inner one. And one of the people in the inner one forgot. Obviously, both are usher, right? The inner one is usher because one of its members forgot, and the outer one is usher because that's where the eruv was, and one of its members didn't. However, if they was on the inner one, and mina chitzona below eruv, right? Someone from the chitzona did not make an eruv. Shtein asuros, div Rabbi Akiva, both of them are usher. Right? And we'll have to understand this machlokes. In this case, Chamis say, no, the inner one. They are fine, right? They are okay. In other words, they're separated just because some of the outer one did not join the eruv. They're all going to do it together, and he did not join the eruv. He doesn't aser the inner one, right? Because really, he had no rights there. So since he had no rights there, despite the fact that it was going to go ahead and despite the fact that he was going to go ahead and join the eruv, since he never joined the eruv, he's not really part of the inner chutzner because he has no reason to ever be in the chutzner. He doesn't need the rite of passage, so therefore it wouldn't aser it according to the chacham. But Rabbi Akiva says no, it does aser it, and both of them become aser because even one of the outer members, because the eruv was placed and they were one, but they're all together, outer members would aser it. Now, what's the reason why they said inner one is mutter? Right? Because what can they do? Go ahead, basically close off the chutzner, right? We'll close the door, and whoever's in the chitzayna is, you guys stay there, we'll stay here. All of our members remember to do the eruv, and since one of your members did not join, so he's not going to hurt us. We'll just basically, close you off. And Rabbi Akiva Nami. So take a dasha to Shamish. So why does Rabbi Akiva hold the same thing? What is the nekudas hamachlekes? Why does Rabbi Akiva hold? You can't just quote unquote close the door between the chatzeros and say, okay, the inner is the inner, and everyone of the inner joined, and the outer one is forbidden because some of them forgot to go ahead and join in the eruv. Shamalei eruv margila. So since they went ahead. You can't just say they're closed off because, according to Rabbi Akiva, since the outer people went ahead and placed their eruv in the inner one, it shows that people of the outer one are part of the inner one. I, the Rabbanan Nami, eruv magila. So I, the eruv is magila. So Daman Takuni Shafticha v'loy lavasi. I says no. The only reason we made an eruv is for our benefit. It wasn't for our detriment. So therefore, since it's a detriment because one of you guys forgot, so you know what? We're saying we didn't do it, right? No thanks, right? Thanks, but no thanks. So therefore, According to the Rabbanan, you can say thanks but no thanks, right? Since you guys were going to join us, it would have helped because then we can carry from one chatzar to the other. But one of you guys messed up; you didn't join in. Therefore, we'll pretend like we never did it. I Rabbi Kiva Nami Tamas. Why is Rabbi Kiva say the same thing? Tamas Kuni Shitaf Ticha V'Lo La'avsi. So Damar Los, we told him Avat L'cha Rishusi, because according to Rabbi Kiva, right, he can say that he can be mevatel his rights, right? Mevatel rights. In other words, you don't need to say that it's not good because a person will be mevatel his rights. I Rabbanan ain't bitul rishus mechatzer the chatzer. And Rabbanan will say that's not clear. Rabbanan will say that you can't be mevatel from one rishus to the other. In other words, like this. Really, it's all together, right? But Rabbi Kiva can say you could just be mevatel your rishus, right? Just what we learned. If there's one courtyard and there's 6 people or 5 people part of the courtyard, and 4 people join, one doesn't. So he ruins it, like just like this case, the chitzona pnimis. So he can always be mevatel his rishus. So too, according to Rabbi Kiva, the person on the outside can always be mevatel rishus and fix things, right? Says, okay, I give up my rights to the yard, and therefore you guys can go ahead and carry from your houses into the chatzar. So be mevatel your rights. So we don't have to go ahead and close it off. We can just say be mevatel your rights. But according to Rabbanan, you're not allowed to be mevatel your rights. Why is that? Because you can't be mevatel mechatzar the chatzar, right? Because this is a machlokes we saw before, which the Gemara was going to point out. If that's the case, so the machlokes we saw earlier between Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan, right, which you saw maybe a week ago, whether or not a person can be mevatel from one chatzar to the other. Now, it's one thing if I live in a chatzar, I can be basically nullify and give up my rights in my chatzar where I live. However, if I'm part of one chatzar and I was supposed to join with another chatzar, can I be mevatel my rights to that chatzar, right? Are you going to be mevatel my chatzar? So maybe it's the same machlokas that between Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan as this machlokas we just basically pointed out that the nekuda machlokas is whether you can be mevatel the chatzar, which is the reason whether the person on the chitzayna by not joining the eruv can ruin the eruv that it was placed in the joint eruv. It was all placed in the panimi. So that's close to the Rabbanan and Rabbi Kiva Kamiflagi. The Shmuel Amek Rabbanan, the Shmuel Holik Rabbanan. The aim of Atam Mishus Bechatzer the Chatzer. Rabbi Yochanan, Damak Rabbi Kiva, Rabbi Yochanan Holik Rabbi Kiva that you could do. So Amar Shmuel, so he said no, maybe it's different. Maybe Shmuel can say Ana Dami Afilu Rabbi Kiva. I can even Holik Rabbi Kiva, or Rabbi Kiva's his opinion can fit what I'm saying. Ad Kan Lo Kamar Rabbi Kiva Hacha Ella B'Shtei Chatzeres Zulufnim Zu. Over here, Rabbi Kiva is talking. We're not talking about chatzar, 2 side by side. We're talking about an inner one and an outer one, right? Maybe an inner and outer one, right? The asra adadi over there. The reason why they can be mevatel chatzar is because one's inside the other. There's more shaychus. It's not just 2 side by side. The inner one needs the outer one, so it shows they're more of one chatzar. Maybe in that case you can be mevatel chatzar. Well, hasam mikasi adadi, but over there, who says they're asra one another, right? Side by side, there's no drisas regal. Nobody has the right of the way in the other chatzar. So therefore, you can go ahead and separate the two. Rabbi Yochanan and Amar, and Rabbi Yochanan say, "Ana damri afilu Rabbanan." I can tell the Rabbanan. Ad kan lokim Rabbanan hacha. Rabbanan only say everything in this case. Ela damri le amad v'telas li kasat elai. Right. So they can say, right, when you go ahead and about the rights, that's when you ask me, right? Aval hasam mikasat elai. But over there, right, there's one chatzar side by side, right? They don't answer one another. So since they don't answer one another, perhaps there is no reason for them to go ahead and be mevatel rishus. So maybe in that case, that's. Normally, you can be mevatel rishus, but over here, since they can answer, so therefore they'll be able to be mevatel. Fine. V'im, so there we got to 2 dots here. V'im hayu shel yechidim. If we say is one person on this chatzar and the other one this chatzar, and Amar Rav Yosef, so Tani Rebbe hayu shloisha asur. So he says Rebbe taught. Right. This is what Rav Yosef said. So Rebbe taught, and even if there was 3 people, it would answer. Right. 3 people. We say it would answer. In other words, not 1 and 1, rather 1 and 2, right? So in other words, even if there's 2, right, on the inner one, right, there's 2 on the inner one. Either one, it would answer. In other words, and if you look at Rashi, right, look at Rashi for a second, right in the middle of Spekim of Beis Rav Yosef Tani Rabbi Imayu Gimel. So Beis Hachatzeros Oisrin, right? Either chatzar, whether obviously if there's 3, so one of the chatzeros has 2 houses. Whether it's the inner one or the outer one has 2 houses that one person needs to walk through. It's obvious to say that if there's 2 people in the inner one, to have regla asura, right? Over there, they have regla asura, because remember, if there's 2 people in the inner one, then they need an eruv with one another, right? So if they need an eruv with one another and they don't, it's forbidden for them to carry in their case. So if they asur in their case, certainly they would asur in another case, right? So even if there's two people in the outer one, then it'll be aser achi yarvu shtein until they make a chatzar yachad gezera mishum rabim b'pnimis, because of the two on the inside. So if the two on the inside and one on the outside, it's aser. So, but not only that, but even the two people on the inside, right, or two on the outside, and the outer one also do it because of gezera of the other case. So back in the Gemara. So Amar Lahu Rabbibi, I lo tetzile, right? Don't teach us. I was the one who said this. And I told them, and all right, and they said that, and I said it wasn't Rebbe, right? Now, so first of all, I wasn't Rebbe, and I was the one who taught this. So he said, because he would call it the Rabbim, right? I didn't say Rebbe, he called it the Rabbim, so that's the reason why it's Asr. No, if you have Rabbim, then it would be Asr. So not one is okay, but not Rabbim. Right? So Rabbim Asr wasn't Rebbe, it was Rabbim. Some Rabbi Yosef, Mari Davram, Rabbim, but Rebbe Yichlifli, right? It must have been, I confused the words. It wasn't Rebbe who taught even three. Rather, it was the Rabbim. Three people are called Rabbim, and therefore it doesn't matter where the two live. Two and sharing one chatzar do need to make an eruv to carry it. So therefore, the two chatzeros would aser one another. You need the person on the inner one to join in the outer one. Shmuel Amar Liyel Muteris. Really, it's mutter achi shnai b'pnimis v'echa b'chitzayim, right? Really, it's mutter, right? Unless the two, when you have two people are in the inner one and then the outer one, because then they need to make an eruv one another. And since they're iser, so since they can't carry in their case, therefore the juice is regal asers. But however, if you have two people in the outer one, right, and there was an eruv there, the inside person, one person will not affect. If you have one person on juice is regal, it will not affect it according to Shmuel. And Omar Rebbe Elazar the Nachri Hare Hu Karabim. A Nachri is like the Rabbim. So we said the Rabbim will go ahead and aser it. Since the Rabbim, the aser, right? They're makom if they don't make an eruv. So therefore the Rabbim go ahead and aser the people in the in the outer one because their juice is regal. So too, if it was a Nachri, he is like the Rabbim, right? So we say Daman. So Gemara says, so Maishna Yisrael Deloy Daster. What's the reason why Yisrael doesn't aser? So Daman if a person who knows, right, that since he's a Jew living in the what's it called? Since he's a Jew living in the inner one, Yadi, that he knows he doesn't aser the other ones. One person doesn't aser. Well, Mandalo Yadim. However, someone who doesn't know the halachas, if one person lives in the inner one, right, and then his juice regal doesn't ruin it, Savar Eruv, right? He would think that he's part of the Eruv. However, Nachrinami say the same thing. Nachrinami, we should say over there Yada, right? If somebody knows that that it's only one guy who lives there, so therefore he knows that one person doesn't ask the if he doesn't know, then Savar Igor Igor. Then he'll just think that the reason why his juice regal doesn't ruin it is because maybe he rented the rights. So Stam Nachri Isa Daiger Mifapayu. Now, if he would have gone ahead and rented it out, he would have told people. So therefore, it wouldn't have been a secret. So people can't just assume, right? If it was one person, people can assume that he in the area. But two people, when it comes to a guy, then they'll be confused and they're not going to assume it because if he did it, then he would have announced it. And Omer Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel Asara Batim Zeh Lifnim Zeh. You got 10 houses, right, connected to one another. There's a picture, right? There's a picture over here. There's a schatzer, right? Let me just spill my coffee. You see the picture. There's one house to the attached to the chatzir, and then each other houses is joined to that house, almost like a townhouse, right? But imagine townhouses where they're not connected to one another. You're connected to your neighbor. Now, so right? So the inner one, right? So the inner one, and now which one's that? So the inner one is the one that is all the way farthest away from the chatzir, right? I believe that's the inner one, because the inner one is the one. Actually, the inner one is the one that closest to the chatzir, I think, right? So in this case, so the Gemara says Asar Batim Zolifnizu Primi Naisin Seruva V'Dayo. So the inner one places his eruv and esanaf, and Rabbi Yechon Amar Afilu Chitzo, right? Even there are the outer one, not just one person has to go ahead and get it, but all of them sounds like afilu chitzon. Even the outer one, all 10 have to join. In other words, it's not just enough for, let's say there's two houses. One house is a regular house, and the other house is these townhouses that connect through it. So the first opinion holds that only one from this side, and then the inner one on the other side goes at it and makes the eruv, and therefore they can carry it from their house into the chatzir, right? And Rabbi Yechon says afilu chitzon. Even the outer one, so the Gemara says chitzon, right? Right, the outer one, Beis Sharhu, right? The chitzon, the one that's closest, right? The outer one, which is the one that's closest to the chutzner, right? The inner one is the one farthest away. So the farthest away gives an eruv. That would have been good. So he says even the inner one. So the inner one, Beis Sharhu, is that considered to be some sort of Beis Shar? It's like a gatehouse, right? Why? Because it's just an entrance into the next one, right? That's basically like a gatehouse to the next one. So chitzon shel pnimi, right? So he says no. So he's talking about what's it called? Only when he says the inner one is the inner one of the inside house. In other words, not number 10 because that's the outer one. The pnimi is number 9. Because number 9 is not considered to be right. And my community, what's my focus? My saver Beis Shar, the Yachid Shmei Beis Shar. One holds it's considered to be a Beis Shar, and therefore it doesn't have to go ahead and join. Or my saver Lo Yishmei Beis Shar, and the other one holds that no, it's not considered to be a Beis Shar. It's not considered to be a gatehouse because it only opens up into one house, and therefore those 2 have to go ahead and join the Eruv, but the other 8 do not because those are considered to be a Beis Shar. We will stop over here, and then Sunday morning, Mitzvah Shem at 7 o'clock. We will go ahead and continue from here. Everyone have a wonderful day, and we'll see you Sunday, Mitzvah Shem. Have a good Shabbos.
Yeah. Shabbos.
Thank you.
Shabbos.
Shabbos.
Have you signed up some Daf Yomi people in the hotel restaurant?
I did what?
Have you signed up some new Daf Yomi people?
Oh yeah. What if
Hotel?
I turned around my camera and there was like 100 people like sitting there, like a whole big cheer?
So just I'll send them the Zoom link.
Yeah, I do this. Yeah.
Rebbe, which hotel is that?
It's like Trump, where they never show the crowds.
Yeah. I'm at the Hilton, the Newark Hilton or something like that. Hilton Newark.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
All
All
right.
right. Guys, have a good job. Bye bye.